Hello and welcome everyone to Anesthesia INI-CET May 2026 recall. We had 3 questions, out of which all of them had been covered in our mission classes as well as in our hyper revision classes. So let's look at them. Very standard questions. The first one is a 40-year-old female is posted for parotid surgery. She was given general anesthesia. After 10 minutes of surgery, there is a rise in the end tidal carbon dioxide. Temperature is 104 degrees Fahrenheit and heart rate is 150 BP is also on the higher side, 180 by 110 mmHg. What is the likely diagnosis? So now in this question, the major point that you have to take into account is that the patient has been given anesthesia and the surgery has been started. Okay, so this is all happening intraoperatively. Now let's have a look at the options. If you look at the options, heat stroke, heat cramps, heat pyrexia, all of this happens due to exposure to heat outside. Okay, so this patient is inside the OT. General OT temperature is between 18 to 24 degrees Celsius. So there is no scope of a lot of environmental heat in this case. So we can easily rule out these 3 options over here, and we can think of something in anesthesia, which we all know what it is, which causes hyperthermia. It causes tachycardia because of increased metabolism. It causes rise in EtCO2. And this hyperthermia that we are talking about is not a very simple hyperthermia. You're seeing that the temperature is going up to 104 degrees Fahrenheit, which is normally not seen in any of the heat stroke, heat cramps, or heat pyrexia. Okay, this is something abnormal which is happening because of increased muscle metabolism due to increased muscle contraction, which is happening as a result of malignant hyperthermia. So the diagnosis over here is malignant hyperthermia. Now you also have hypertension and tachycardia in this. The other options would be to have muscle rigidity, to have cola colored urine because of breakdown of the muscle causing myoglobinuria in the patient, and all of this slowly leading to arrhythmias and cardiac arrest in the patient. Treatment would be, first you have to stop giving the triggering agent, that is volatile anesthetic agent or succinylcholine, whichever has triggered this condition in the patient. And second is that you have to give dantrolene sodium to the patient. Treatment of choice is going to be dantrolene sodium. So this was a very, very easy question and I hope all of you got it correct. Now let's have a look at the next question. Choose the correct statements regarding halothane. So halothane, as we all know, is an inhalational anesthetic agent. Inhalational anesthetic agents, the first point is exposure to halothane causes 20 to 30 mmHg drop in blood pressure. Now I'll show you some snippets of a book that we follow in anesthesia. It is called as Stolting's Pharmacology. It is all about the pharmacology of all the anesthetic agents that we use. It's a very standard textbook. So in Stolting's Pharmacology, they say that if you have any volatile anesthetic agent, there is a decrease in the left ventricular stroke volume by 15 to 30% for all volatile anesthetics. So if you see 15 to 30% of a systolic blood pressure of 120 mmHg, if you take 15 to 30% of that, that roughly follows the range of 20 to 30 mmHg. So every volatile anesthetic will cause a fall in the stroke volume and it will cause a resulting fall in the cardiac output by 20 to 30 mmHg. Okay. So this statement is absolutely true. The next statement is fall in BP starts early and is parallel to the depth of anesthesia. So it means that the more you increase the concentration of halothane in the patient, the further will be the fall in blood pressure of the patient. So this is also absolutely correct. More exposure to halothane, more depth of anesthesia will cause more vasodilation of the blood vessels and will also directly act on the heart, leading to reduction in stroke volume and resulting cardiac output. So all of this leads to fall in blood pressure. Again, in Stolting's anesthesia, it is given over here that halothane but not iso, des and sevoflurane produces dose-dependent decrease in cardiac output. So if cardiac output will decrease with increasing depth of anesthesia, obviously the blood pressure will also decrease. So this is also an absolutely true statement. Third statement is halothane directly reduces cardiac output. So yes, halothane acts as a myocardial depressant on the heart and it directly reduces the cardiac output in the patient. Okay. So over here also, it is given the same. And the last point is given that halothane activates baroreceptor mechanism when there is fall in blood pressure. Now, this is false, and we have studied this in our mission classes as well. In the mission classes, I had told you all specifically that baroreceptor reflex is inhibited by halothane. Halothane will inhibit the baroreceptor reflex. What is the baroreceptor reflex? Whenever the blood pressure in the body falls, the baroreceptors or the pressure sensing receptors are activated, they are stimulated, and what they do is that they will cause a rise in heart rate to maintain the cardiac output. Okay. Now, when your patient is exposed to halothane, because of vasodilation, because of fall in cardiac output, there will be a fall in blood pressure. That will stimulate the baroreceptors, but the baroreceptor reflex will be inhibited. That is, your heart rate will not change. So halothane will not allow the heart rate to increase. In fact, it will sometimes decrease the heart rate, and that is why the patient remains in a state of low blood pressure. So the baroreceptor mechanism or baroreceptor reflex is inhibited whenever there is fall in blood pressure when you expose the patient to halothane. And the same thing is given over here. The common observation of an unchanged heart rate despite a decrease in blood pressure during administration of halothane reflects depression of the carotid sinus or baroreceptor reflex response by halothane. All right. So you have to remember this from the mission classes. So correct options are 1, 2, and 3 over here. Then the last one, again, very, very simple. What is the order of structures pierced during lumbar puncture? So we know that when we perform spinal anesthesia, that is subarachnoid block, or when we perform lumbar puncture, we are all going into the subarachnoid space. In lumbar puncture, you go into the subarachnoid space to collect CSF. That is where the CSF is, in the subarachnoid space. Okay. So what is the order of the structures pierced to reach the subarachnoid space? So if you start from outside to inside, there is a very nice mnemonic to remember this. SSSILE dash. I think you have done this in anatomy as well. So S is for your skin and subcutaneous tissue, which will be outside. Then the next is for the supraspinous ligament. Then you have your interspinous ligament. Then you have the ligamentum flavum. Then you have your epidural space. Once you reach the epidural space, the space above the dura, the next structure you pierce is the dura. Then you pierce the arachnoid matter, and then you reach the subarachnoid space, the space below the arachnoid matter where your CSF lies, the subarachnoid space. Okay. So you just had to put this in the correct order over here. So if I look over here, skin, subcutaneous tissue, then I have supraspinous ligament, then I have interspinous ligament, then I have ligamentum flavum. Then after that, I don't have the epidural space over here. Okay. What I have over here is the dura mater, which is number 4. Then I have your subdural space. Obviously, subdural space will be below the dura mater. So that will come next. And then I have your arachnoid matter followed by subarachnoid space. Subarachnoid space is not given over here. So the order of piercing structures will be 2, 3, 1, 4, 5, 6. Option B. So again, little tricky because you have to go through all the options, but it's just a lengthy question. It's not something that has not been asked before. So I hope you guys got all of these questions correct. They were very simple and easy to solve in anesthesia. Thank you.